Hey guys, Fireblade here, and welcome to another episode of What If Yang is a Saiyan. I just got to watching Volume 2, and I gotta say, a bit more happens with Yang. In fact, there's one part where the story kind of makes a change, but it still plays the same, it just goes out almost completely differently. Anyway, to start this off, I'm gonna just get the biggie out, well, not biggie, but the fun scene out. The food fight doesn't really change that much. Doesn't really change. However, the investigation does change. When they're planning for the investigation of the white thing like that, when Sun comes in, he actually notices that Yang has a tail when they're out seeing Neptune out on the side of the window. They just tell him an abridged story about it, saying Yang had a tail and it grew back. That's all you need to know. So it just, proceeds to happen. Everything all happens about as normally as it can. As until with the fight with the mechanized robot. Droid, whatever. When Yang is hit into the wall, when Blade calls out for her, that's Yang's semblance obviously, activate. However, like I said in the first part, how the Summer Maiden's power has been fused, plays a little bit to Yang's semblance. We all know that Saiyans love to fight and that they get stronger throughout the battle. Because of the Summer Maiden's power, that amplifies that ability of the Saiyan, which causes, Yang's semblance, as we know as Yang's semblance. However, that isn't Yang going Super Saiyan. No, in fact, that's actually Yang's false Super Saiyan state. Now, it's not the same. Now, it's obviously not looks the same as Goku's false Super Saiyan from the Lord Slug movie. That's obviously because of the Summer Maiden's power being mixed in with it as well, which just gives it, what it looks like. So Yang is obviously much stronger. In fact, so strong that she doesn't really need the Bumblebee team attack. But RWBY still calls it anyway, and Yang just goes along with it. During the talk that Yang and Blake has, Yang actually does mention that while she was cut and bruised, while she was with RWBY to look for Raven, Yang also mentions that while she was cut and bruised, her blood was pumping full of adrenaline for excitement and stuff like that, which Yang thought was odd, but she decided to put that in because that was kind of a main thing that she feels is important. That she's just so exhausted, but yet her blood is pumping up of excitement for the danger like that. Yang feels that's kind of dangerous for her, but she doesn't. So she explains that part. Not really expecting any help from her, but she just explains it anyways. As for the actual dance, Yang still has the tail. She actually keeps the tail in her dress. In fact, she keeps it. She just barely wraps it. It's still around her waist, just not on the outside, as you might think. Here's the big change that I think would happen. During the fight, the heist that Cinder has, Yang senses, because her ability to sense energy has increased. Yang senses that the few power levels are going down a bit. Curious about this, Yang goes out of the building, tells Weiss to look cover for her while she investigates something. While she's out there, she sees RWBY's weapon pod comes in. Yang does the same thing to call in her weapon, and she meets RWBY outside, but inside the CCT. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, while they're inside, they have a brief conversation on what they're doing there. And afterward, while they're in the elevator, Yang decides to focus more of her energy, key sensing ability, on whoever's up top. And Yang feels that power of Cinder. She is shocked by how much there is, but also knows that it's just a fraction of what she's capable of. In fact, it actually shakes her up a bit, not only of fear, but also for excitement as well. RWBY notices that Yang is shaking a bit. She asks her what's wrong, but Yang just tells her, don't worry about it, just be careful. And so, RWBY and Yang team up to try to take down Cinder, but just like in the anime, they get distracted by General Ironwood coming in. Yang was so focused on the battle, he didn't notice. He didn't sense Iron Road coming in. So afterwards, after the talk that they had, Blake actually gives Yang and RWBY the package, and Yang notices that he's obviously from home, and it plays out per normal. Another big part will be when RWBY is captured. Yang doesn't sense her because Yang's not trying to sense anything. She can't sense the Grimm at all because they don't have a soul. So she just, keeps her eyes peeled right here so she doesn't notice that RWBY's gone or she's not near. As for the fight with Neo, I'd say it plays out almost the same, but except Neo had a little bit of trouble with Yang. But frankly, Neo actually does overcome Yang, mostly because Yang was tired from the battle, from fighting Grimms all day with barely any sleep. When Raven comes in to save Yang, Raven is thinking the monster that killed Summer. It's at this point we all know that Raven has the Spring Maiden power. Using that power, Raven tries to take the Summer Maiden's power away from Yang. She can't take the Summer Maiden's power from Yang, the partial that she had, because of Summer's quote lingering spirit in Yang. Because of that Raven just like, one day I will take that power away from you, Yang, and I will kill you. And proceeds to leave. Which obviously Yang wakes up before then just to catch a glimpse of her like in the anime. As for the fight in the city, I'd say it plays out just pretty much the same. Yang obviously is enjoying herself a bit more. In fact, a couple of team notices that, and when they're done, they actually ask why Yang was actually enjoying this. Yang doesn't know why she was enjoying this, but she just did. And they just proceed, just to rest up for that. Now that would be the end, but I'm gonna go a little bit more. I'm actually gonna implement RWBY Grim Eclipse. Now I know Grim Eclipse is supposed to be his own separate entity, like story and everything else. That's supposed to be his own entity. However, I'm gonna say the part of Grim Eclipse happens in between 3 and 2, just because I actually had a good idea that can go with it. Now, if you haven't played Grim Eclipse, it's a small story on what's causing Mutant Grimm. Basically, I'm not gonna implement the Mutant Grimm thing. They notice while they're looking around, they notice something odd. They proceeds to go back and tell Osmond, and Osmond knows who it is. Obviously, Dr. Morrow, however you pronounce his freaking name. So Team RWBY decides to go there anyway. And at this point, it's during night, and they proceed to have the battle outside the door, like in the game. However, one wrong move from Yang, and she also ends up getting thrown back. And with Yang looking up, and she sees, of course, the full moon. And Yang still has her tail again, so she sees the full moon. While everyone else sees this patch there going on, Blake notices Yang just still laying on the ground. Blake goes over to Yang to try to get her up, but she noticed something's wrong with Yang. She's breathing heavily, like she's kind of like, it's pumping, I guess. So Blake calls over to RWBY and Weiss to ask her, and they ask RWBY, is anything like this happened to Yang before? RWBY knows this never happened before. Then Weiss notices that she's looking up at the full moon. RWBY is right now, who's too big to the fight, is terrified. She says, oh no, not the full moon. They obviously don't know what's going on. They think they know what's happening with RWBY knows what's happening with Yang, but RWBY tells them what Tai told both RWBY and Yang, is that a monster usually comes out during a full moon. So they have just to be careful when they're outside at night. So RWBY is terrified, thinking that this monster is possessing Yang. She's thinking that it's a spiritual monster and it's possessing Yang. But during their talk, but after their talk, Yang starts to, get bulkier, bigger, prompting the other girls to back away. Then she proceeds to get bigger and bigger, and eventually turning into the Ozaru, shocking everyone. RWBY calls Ozpin, letting him know what happened. Ozpin is like shocked about this because he was told from Taiyang and Raven and Crow. Well, not Raven. He was told by Taiyang and Crow what happened before. So Ozpin tells him to try to cut off Yang's tail. In the process, Blake, RWBY, and Weiss all get knocked out, and Yang just proceeds to destroy Merlot's lab in the Eldaru form, and just proceeds to destroy everything else around them. Ozpin and Glinda trying to come in, but they also don't want to get destroyed, so they're trying to dodge from Yang's energy blast that's coming at them. When the rest of Team RWBY wakes up, they know they're in the ship. They ask what is wrong. They ask what happened, and Ozpin tells them the story only as much as he can, as he's allowed to tell them. RWBY asks Ozpin what do they know about Yang, and Ozpin only tells them very little bit. Tells them what they know, that Yang isn't from here, and that we have to cut off her tail because that monster happened. At this point, RWBY connects a dot on the story that Taiyang told them and Summer's death, and realizes that Yang was the one who killed Summer. Blake remembers the story from when Yang told her, and tries to comfort RWBY a bit. Ozpin tells him not to tell Yang because they don't know what happened with Yang, if she knows, like whether she goes back to what she was supposed to do when she first got here, or where she would just disappear from them, or does they need Yang. They need to keep an eye on Yang. They also let them know that they cut off Yang's tail, because when they found them, the sun was already up, and Yang, like everyone else, was passed out, except Yang was naked because clothes ripped off. They cut off Yang's tail as it proceeds to get everyone else on top of the ship. And just like that, everything proceeds as normal. RWBY is a little bit, scared of Yang. It's a little bit scared of Yang. So Blake tells Yang to try to get close to RWBY a little bit more. And Yang does that during in between volume 3 and 2. So because of that, their relationship kind of builds back up, basically. The Eldaru kind of just destroys their relationship a bit, but with the help of Blake, Yang and RWBY were able to build their relationship back up again. And I say that be about it. Say that what happened in this installment of What If Yang Was a Saiyan. I always had a few missteps. I might have cut them out. Well, probably not. We'll see. But anyway, yeah. This one, I actually kind of enjoyed it, especially with the Merlot part. That was just me. You might not like it, I don't care. You might not like it, but who knows. Anyways, that will be the end of this episode. If you liked that video, be sure to click that like and the subscribe button. I would love to know for you guys. And if you want to see a different kind of what if, put in the description what kind of what if you want to see. Or hear. Or whatever. Anyways, Fireblade here, and I will see you later. Whatever I make. Bye!